in order to be able to hear God, you and I have to be willing to listen and obey God. I remember my dad telling me as I grew up that when I was confused about what God's will was, I should go back to the last time God clearly spoke to me and do that. My dad said, here's the problem. God speaks to us, and when we refuse to do what he says, he often goes silent. One of the most frightening things that you could do is get God to just go silent and let you do what you want to do. When God speaks, he speaks for our good. God's plan for our life is the best our lives could be. But when we stop listening to him, so here is the deal. If you have ever heard a word from the Lord, you need to go back to where you last heard that, and you need to start paying attention. You need to go do that thing you didn't want to do. Between Malachi, which is the last book of the Old Testament, and Matthew, it's called the 400 years of silence. Do you know why? Because people of God, as you read through the Old Testament, they stopped listening to God. They stopped doing whatever they wanted. And God just went silent for 400 years. You really don't want God to leave you to yourself, do you? You have this incredible, all-knowing, all-powerful, loving, generous, merciful God who wants to be a part of our lives. And sometimes we force him to go. We can't really force God to do anything, but our response leads him to go silent. Proverbs 1:7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. I heard one teacher say, the fear of the Lord oftentimes is said, fear really doesn't mean fear, like you're afraid. It means a reverent awe. This teacher was saying, actually, it does mean fear. It also means reverent awe. If God knows the best plan, the best path, and gives us instruction, and we disagree with what God has said, we actually at that moment decide we know more than God. And we should be afraid. Reality is, we don't. When we want to pick and choose what we will listen to from God, we cease to let God be the Lord of our lives, whom we fear with reverent fear, with trembling, and we make him less God and more of a consultant. Like I want God to be God 90% in 90% of the areas of my life, but there's 10% of the area, God, just leave me alone. And the fallacy of that strategy is that it just doesn't work. Why would you not want God's best plan, God's best ways, God's best future for you? It is so important for us to understand where our hearts are. It is simple. Go back and obey the last thing God told you.